In a moment that shocked the galaxy, the Galactic Empire attacked a hospital, an act of unimaginable cruelty. Humanity had endured for 107 years of peace, but that peace shattered in an instant. Witness the rise of unstoppable human fury as Earth wages a war the galaxy will never forget. Subscribe now and witness humanity strike back. For 107 years, humanity had known peace. The galaxy had watched as humans and aliens coexisted, treaties signed and honored, old wounds supposedly healed. Civilization had flourished, trade networks expanded, and diplomatic channels opened across hundreds of star systems. Humans had learned to adapt, to innovate, and to survive. But they had also learned restraint. The memory of past wars and the devastation they caused had tempered ambition with caution. Earth had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even amidst the cold void of space, cooperation was possible. But all of that changed in an instant. The attack came without warning. The Galactic Empire, arrogant and ruthless, struck a hospital, a place dedicated to life, healing, and neutrality. It was a civilian facility, treating humans and aliens alike, a sanctuary in the middle of a chaotic sector. Explosions tore through wards, energy beams igniting the skies, the screams of the injured echoing across space. Medical staff who had dedicated their lives to saving others were torn apart, families watching helplessly as the unthinkable unfolded. Humanity had endured countless challenges, but this violation of peace was beyond comprehension. News spread faster than light. Every colony, station, and outpost received reports of the atrocity. Social networks and interstellar broadcasts carried images of devastation, survivors recounting the horror in trembling voices. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. Humans, known for their resilience, were stunned into disbelief. How could a species with whom they had shared centuries of peace commit such a blatant act of cruelty? The question spread across Earth and beyond, but there was no answer, only outrage and a growing fire of determination. The civilians, the scientists, the engineers, and the military alike understood one undeniable truth. This attack could not go unanswered. Humanity had been patient, restrained, willing to coexist for the sake of survival and progress. But patience had a limit. The Empire had crossed a line that could never be forgiven. Every mind, every hand, every fighter was galvanized by the same thought. The attackers had unleashed something they could never control. Humanity would respond, not with hesitation, but with precision, power, and vengeance. Amid the chaos, the central figure emerged, a woman general known for her sharp mind and unwavering resolve. She had witnessed the destruction firsthand, seen the faces of children, doctors, and civilians burned into memory. She understood that grief alone was not enough. Action was required. Humanity needed a strategy, not just fury. She moved quickly, coordinating with surviving fleets, mobilizing the brightest minds and the bravest warriors. Every human capable of contributing to the war effort was called upon. No corner of Earth's defenses, no hidden fleet, no secret weapon was overlooked. The general's message was simple, but its weight carried across the stars. The Empire has attacked our people. The innocent have been harmed. Humanity will not forgive. Humanity will not forget, and we will respond. It was a statement that resonated with every human, from the scientists in their laboratories to the pilots preparing for flight. Fear, grief, and shock transformed into determination. The Empire may have believed humanity weak, but they had underestimated the force of a species united by loss, anger, and survival instinct. Within hours, emergency meetings convened, plans were drawn, intelligence networks activated, and communication channels secured. Every sector contributed information on Empire fleet movements, supply lines, and tactical weaknesses. Analysts studied the attack in meticulous detail, tracing its origins, predicting potential next strikes, and identifying vulnerabilities. Engineers and scientists began reverse engineering salvage weapons and developing new technologies capable of countering the Empire's advances. Humanity was no longer reacting, it was strategizing. Civilians, too, played their part. Messages of solidarity, courage, and determination spread across colonies and stations. Children, teachers, medics, and ordinary citizens contributed resources, volunteered for dangerous missions, and documented the atrocities committed by the Empire. The attack on a hospital had ignited a collective fury, one that transcended age, profession, or rank. Humans were awakening to a truth that had been dormant for generations. They were no longer just a peaceful species. They were a force to be reckoned with. Morale became both a weapon and a shield. The woman general spoke to the people through broadcasts and secure channels, her voice steady and commanding. She did not dwell on loss. She focused on capability, strength, and strategy. She reminded humanity that the Empire had misjudged them, that every act of aggression would be met with unmatched response. Her words became a mantra, echoing through stations, ships, and colonies. They think we will kneel. They are wrong. They will see the strength of a species they tried to destroy. The Empire, confident in its superiority, had assumed humans would despair, would submit to intimidation, or negotiate under duress. But what they did not account for was humanity's ability to transform grief into strategy, fear into innovation, and outrage into unified action. Every corner of human civilization became a node in the emerging war network. Scientists developed adaptive weaponry, engineers built covert fleets, and strategists prepared multi-tiered operations designed to strike at the Empire's heart. Humanity was no longer passive. It was preparing to dominate. As night fell on Earth and colonies across the galaxy, human activity did not cease. Fleets were recalibrated, weapons tested, and contingency plans reviewed. The woman general oversaw it all, not just as a leader, but as the embodiment of humanity's resolve. Every calculation, every order, every communication was precise. Humanity's fury was no longer random. It was deliberate, intelligent, and unstoppable. The attack on the hospital had shattered peace, but it had also forged something far more dangerous. A species united, determined, and prepared to unleash retribution that the galaxy would never forget. In those hours following the attack, humanity transformed grief into resolve, chaos into order, and despair into a meticulously planned retaliation. The galaxy would soon learn that attacking Earth, striking at the innocent, and underestimating humanity was a mistake they would pay for in ways they could never imagine. The war had not yet begun, but the first seeds of unstoppable human vengeance had been sown, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them from rising. Humanity's response to the hospital attack was immediate and uncompromising. The woman general knew that the Empire's arrogance had created an opportunity, a moment where fear could be turned into strategy, grief into a weapon. Across the galaxy, humans began mobilizing at unprecedented speed. Fleets that had been hidden for decades were readied for deployment. Engineers worked around the clock to upgrade weapons, and scientists accelerated experimental technologies into operational readiness. Every human capable of contributing to the coming conflict was called upon, united by a single goal: retaliation. Communication networks hummed with activity. Secure channels linked colonies, stations, and surviving fleets. Analysts pored over every fragment of intelligence, scanning for weaknesses in the Empire's deployment, supply lines, and command structures. Nothing was too small to consider. Every recorded movement, intercepted transmission, and previous engagement was analyzed, cross-referenced, and integrated into battle plans. Humanity's patience and precision were now weapons as deadly as any missile or energy cannon. Engineers retrofitted existing warships, combining human ingenuity with scavenged alien technology. Ships were reinforced with adaptive shields capable of withstanding energy blasts, far beyond previous thresholds. Weapon systems were enhanced to strike with precision at vulnerable points in alien vessels. Fleet commanders devised new formations that leveraged speed, agility, and unpredictability, ensuring that numerical superiority would no longer guarantee dominance. Humanity's technology was evolving faster than the Empire could predict, each innovation a direct response to the attack on innocent civilians. Training and strategy became the lifeblood of the human war effort. Pilots practiced maneuvers that defied conventional physics, simulations run at accelerated speeds, allowing them to anticipate and counter enemy tactics before they occurred. Ground forces rehearsed infiltration operations, sabotage techniques, and rapid response measures to reclaim colonies and stations. Every human involved understood that this was not just a war of firepower, but a battle of intellect, precision, and unyielding determination. Failure was not an option, and humanity's preparation reflected that clarity. Civilians, often overlooked in the machinery of war, were integral to the mobilization. Scientists volunteered for dangerous experiments. Engineers risked lives to retrofit civilian ships into combat vessels, and medics prepared to tend to casualties on and off the battlefield. Communities pooled resources, coordinated intelligence networks, and maintained morale under the shadow of the Empire's looming retaliation. The attack on a hospital had ignited a collective fury, and every human, from the youngest recruit to the oldest engineer, became a node in the vast network of resistance. The woman general's leadership was precise, unwavering, and inspiring. Her directives were clear: act decisively, strike smartly, and never underestimate the enemy. She orchestrated training, supply logistics, and strategic deployment with a level of focus that transformed humans from a defensive species into an unstoppable force. Every fleet, every squadron, every operative operated as a single organism, guided by her vision and fueled by collective determination. Her presence became both a rallying point and a symbol of humanity's resolve. Psychological warfare also became a key component of humanity's preparation. Messages were broadcast across known Empire communication channels, not just as warnings, but as declarations of human resilience and intelligence. The Empire had assumed fear and submission. Humanity projected confidence, ingenuity, and an unshakable will. Propaganda and strategy worked in tandem, reinforcing morale within human ranks while sowing doubt and confusion among alien forces. Every psychological edge gained was another weapon in the arsenal of Earth's retaliation. As preparations intensified, humanity's understanding of the Empire's patterns grew. Analysts and strategists dissected previous battles, predicting the aliens' preferred maneuvers, typical vulnerabilities, and likely overconfidence. Humans simulated countless scenarios, identifying critical points to exploit. The goal was clear: strike first, strike decisively, and strike in a manner that would dismantle the Empire's sense of invincibility. What had begun as a defensive reaction now evolved into a proactive campaign of precision and dominance. Morale across Earth and colonies surged as humans witnessed the mobilization. Communities that had previously lived under the shadow of fear now felt empowerment. Citizens who had once been passive observers became contributors to a monumental effort. Their ingenuity, courage, and willingness to act under pressure transformed ordinary people into legends in the making. Humanity was no longer simply responding to violence. They were reclaiming their place as the dominant force in the galaxy through strategy, intelligence, and relentless action. By the time the first human fleets were ready to launch, the Empire had no idea what was coming. They assumed they had crushed resistance with terror, that Earth would be cowed into submission. But what they encountered was an entirely different reality. A species that had turned grief into planning, loss into innovation, and outrage into an unstoppable network of coordinated strikes. Humanity's preparation had created not just a fighting force, but a living weapon, capable of striking with precision, intelligence, and overwhelming force. The woman general surveyed the fleets, her mind calculating every possibility, every contingency. She had transformed human grief into a blueprint for retaliation, fear into action, and devastation into opportunity. Every ship, every weapon, every operative was a testament to the principle that humanity never submits, never surrenders, and never forgets. As the fleets moved into position, ready to engage the Empire, the galaxy would soon learn a truth it had forgotten over centuries. Humans, when provoked, become an unstoppable force, and the attack on the innocent had awakened something the Empire could never anticipate. The countdown to retaliation had begun. Humanity was no longer a species waiting to be attacked. They were a calculated, adaptive, and relentless force, prepared to reclaim their honor, protect the innocent, and punish the aggressors. The hospital attack had shattered centuries of peace, but it had also forged a unity and purpose stronger than any weapon. The Empire had believed in their supremacy. They would soon discover that humanity, united and prepared, was far deadlier than any fleet, any weapon, or any threat they had ever faced. Humanity's first strike was swift, precise, and devastating. The fleets that had been readied in secret surged forward, striking at the Empire's supply lines, forward bases, and reconnaissance fleets. Every move was calculated, every attack deliberate. The aliens, confident in their numerical superiority, were caught off guard by humans who had turned preparation into weaponized strategy. The Empire had underestimated the intelligence, creativity, and sheer audacity of a species provoked into action. Missiles streaked across space, energy beams tore through unsuspecting warships, and humans used the environment to their advantage. Asteroid fields became ambush points, nebula clouds concealed rapid fleet maneuvers, and abandoned stations were converted into traps. Alien sensors, designed to detect traditional attacks, failed to recognize the ingenuity of human tactics. What the Empire thought would be a straightforward retaliation became a nightmare of unpredictability, confusion, and fear. Pilots executed maneuvers that defied every known doctrine. They looped around gravity wells, dodged energy barrages, and struck at the weakest points of alien vessels with pinpoint accuracy. Every attack was a demonstration of human ingenuity, adaptability, and determination. Even smaller ships, once considered insignificant, became deadly threats when guided by strategy and the element of surprise. The Empire had expected chaos. They found calculated, relentless precision. Humanity's engineers and scientists were equally decisive. Weapons once considered experimental were now deployed with terrifying efficiency. Adaptive energy disruptors disabled shields, while hacking units infiltrated alien communication networks, feeding false intelligence and causing internal confusion. Every attack was coordinated with meticulous timing, turning the Empire's overwhelming numbers into liabilities. Humans had mastered not just combat, but the orchestration of warfare on a scale that few could comprehend. As the first waves of attacks hit, the Empire struggled to respond. Commanders attempted to regroup, but human strikes were fluid and unpredictable. Supply convoys were annihilated, strategic outposts fell silently, and reconnaissance ships that ventured too close never returned. Each human maneuver was designed not only to inflict damage, but to instill fear, demonstrating that the species they had dismissed as passive was capable of overwhelming strategy and execution. Individual acts of heroism punctuated the larger offensive. Pilots who volunteered for near-impossible missions struck key command vessels. Engineers who risked their lives to repair damaged systems ensured continuity of attack, and ground operatives sabotaged critical installations behind enemy lines. These acts, though small in isolation, compounded into a force that the Empire could neither predict nor counter effectively. Humans were not just fighting, they were creating a legend with every calculated strike. The woman general oversaw every operation with unyielding precision. Her tactical mind anticipated enemy reactions, guiding fleets to exploit every weakness. Decoy maneuvers, ambushes, and feints were executed flawlessly, leaving the Empire scrambling to adapt. What had begun as a defensive reaction to an attack on innocents had transformed into a sophisticated offensive that combined intelligence, courage, and the relentless will to prevail. Humanity was no longer reacting. They were dictating the terms of engagement. Alien leaders who had relied on fear to control the battlefield were forced into retreat. Their overconfidence, their assumption that humans would simply endure and wait, had been shattered. Every fleet lost, every base destroyed, and every command disrupted became a reminder that humanity was not just fighting back, they were dominating. The first strike was not merely retaliation, it was a statement. The Empire's supremacy would no longer go unchallenged, and the species they underestimated was now a threat they could not ignore. Civilians played their role in the offensive as well. Intelligence networks, resource supply chains, and logistical support ensured that attacks were sustained and effective. Scientists developed last-minute innovations, engineers modified ships mid-battle, and medics prepared for casualties with the same resolve that had driven combat operations. Every human, regardless of role, contributed to the relentless efficiency of the offensive. This unified effort amplified the impact of every attack and demonstrated the indomitable spirit of the species. The human strategy was not only destructive but psychological. The Empire could no longer trust its own intelligence, could no longer rely on predictable movements, and could no longer underestimate its opponent. The combination of tactical brilliance, adaptive technology, and unwavering resolve transformed humanity from a species perceived as passive into a galactic force capable of dictating outcomes. The first strike left the Empire disoriented, vulnerable, and fearful of further attacks. The aftermath of the initial offensive reverberated across star systems. News of human ingenuity and precision spread quickly, inspiring allies and striking terror into the hearts of enemies. Humanity's message was clear. The attack on a hospital had not gone unanswered, and the species that had endured for centuries under the guise of restraint was now capable of unleashing unprecedented force. The Empire had provoked a response that would be remembered for generations. The woman general delivered a final message to her forces. They believed we would crumble. They believed fear would control us. They are wrong. Humanity strikes, and we do not falter. Every act of aggression they commit strengthens our resolve. Today, we have shown the galaxy the strength of a united species. Tomorrow, we will ensure they regret the day they challenged us. Her words became a rallying cry, echoing through fleets, stations, and colonies, inspiring every human to continue the campaign with precision and relentless determination. By the conclusion of the first strike, humanity had achieved more than retaliation. They had demonstrated their ability to plan, adapt, and execute on a scale that no one, not even the Empire, had anticipated. The attack on innocents had awakened a force that was strategic, coordinated, and unstoppable. The first strike was a warning, a proof, and a statement. Humanity would no longer be passive, and the galaxy would soon understand the consequences of underestimating the species that had endured 107 years of peace, only to rise with unparalleled fury. The Empire refused to accept humiliation. Alien fleets, vast and heavily armed, mobilized to crush human forces and reassert dominance. Entire sectors were put under lockdown, with orbital bombardments and blockades aimed at punishing humanity for daring to strike first. The Empire assumed terror would work where strategy had failed, that overwhelming force could intimidate a species it had long considered weak. They were gravely mistaken. Humans had anticipated retaliation. Every fleet, every base, every operative was prepared for the Empire's counterattacks. Shields had been reinforced, weapons recalibrated, and contingency plans rehearsed to perfection. The first strikes had been a warning, but now the stakes were higher. Humanity faced not just survival, but annihilation, and the species had proven it could turn pressure into power. The attacks that followed would meet not panic, but calculated, adaptive resistance. Alien bombardments were met with precise countermeasures. Human ships executed maneuvers that neutralized incoming energy barrages, dodged missile volleys, and outflanked larger vessels. Engineers had devised adaptive shielding, capable of absorbing and redirecting destructive energy. Tactical AI, programmed with the intuition of human strategists, coordinated defenses across fleets. What the Empire assumed would be swift destruction turned into a deadly stalemate, as every strike was countered with human ingenuity and foresight. The Empire escalated, deploying elite warships designed to overwhelm any opposition. Yet humans turned these advances against them. Mines disguised as debris, decoy fleets, and feints lured alien forces into traps. Boarding operations reclaimed captured technology, while sabotage units crippled vital engines and communication nodes. Each move demonstrated that humans had transformed chaos into opportunity, and desperation into a weapon that the Empire could neither predict nor counter effectively. Beyond technology, human morale became a force multiplier. Civilians and soldiers alike contributed to the defense, using knowledge, creativity, and courage to enhance every engagement. Scientists improvised weapons, medics ensured wounded fighters returned to action, and communication networks transmitted real-time intelligence, allowing each fleet to react instantaneously. Humanity had turned organization, innovation, and unity into a form of warfare that transcended numbers. The woman general coordinated every aspect of the response with precision unmatched across the galaxy. Her directives ensured that no human force acted in isolation. Every attack, retreat, and repositioning was synchronized. Ambushes were timed to perfection, reinforcements deployed exactly when needed, and supply chains remained unbroken despite alien interference. The Empire's numerical superiority was rendered irrelevant by the efficiency, coordination, and adaptability of human forces. Individual acts of valor punctuated the broader defensive campaign. Pilots executed near-impossible maneuvers to protect vulnerable ships. Engineers risked everything to restore weapons mid-battle, and ground operatives neutralized enemy outposts behind lines of fire. These acts, while heroic in isolation, collectively amplified humanity's overall capability. The Empire had anticipated fear and hesitation. They encountered courage, innovation, and relentless action. Every encounter reinforced the message that humans, united and determined, could not be broken. The psychological dimension of the conflict became increasingly apparent. The Empire, accustomed to domination through intimidation, struggled to adapt to humans who combined intelligence with aggression. Every defeat, every trap sprung, and every failed offensive eroded alien confidence. Alien leaders debated strategies, second-guessed predictions, and questioned the loyalty of their own forces. Humans had weaponized not just ships and weapons, but adaptability and unpredictability. Fear had shifted from humans to their adversaries. Strategically, humans exploited every weakness discovered during prior engagements. Supply routes were intercepted, communication networks disrupted, and resource caches destroyed. Human forces struck at the Empire's most critical vulnerabilities rather than engaging in unnecessary battles. Every strike served a purpose: weaken the enemy, protect human assets, and preserve momentum for the inevitable counteroffensive. The attack on the hospital had triggered not just revenge, but an operational evolution that the Empire could neither anticipate nor contain. As weeks of conflict unfolded, humanity's defense solidified into dominance. The Empire found itself stretched thin, forced to commit resources where humans had predicted, abandoning initiatives in other sectors. Every engagement reinforced the lesson that humans were not only resilient, but adaptive, innovative, and fearless under pressure. The very tactics designed to intimidate Earth and its colonies had become the means by which humans learned, adapted, and struck back with even greater precision. The woman general's message to her forces was unwavering. They believe they can crush us with fear and force. They are wrong. Every attack they make strengthens our resolve. Every move they take becomes an opportunity for us to act. Humanity is not just surviving. We are learning, adapting, and dominating. We strike when necessary, we protect what is ours, and we ensure that no act of cruelty goes unpunished. Her words resonated across fleets and colonies, galvanizing morale and ensuring unity under pressure. The Empire's attempts to escalate were continuously undermined by human ingenuity. Ambushes, decoys, and adaptive strategies forced alien forces into repeated failures. Every defeat sapped their morale, leaving them vulnerable to both tactical and psychological attacks. Humanity had transformed defense into offense without ever abandoning calculated precision. The attacks on civilians had awakened not only vengeance but unprecedented operational brilliance, proving that the species they had underestimated was far more formidable than anticipated. By the end of this defensive phase, humanity had not only survived the Empire's wrath, but had established dominance across contested sectors. Alien morale was shattered, key supply lines disrupted, and fleets weakened. Humans had proven that numbers and technology alone could not dictate outcomes. Intelligence, adaptability, and unified determination were equally lethal. The Empire realized that the attack on a hospital had unleashed a species capable of evolving in real time, turning every challenge into an opportunity for escalation and retaliation. Humanity's victory in defense set the stage for the next phase, decisive counterattacks that would target the Empire's leadership, infrastructure, and capacity to wage war. The hospital attack had begun a chain reaction, one that the Empire had underestimated, and one that would culminate in their humiliation and defeat. Humans had endured devastation, responded with unmatched precision, and demonstrated that survival was only the beginning. From grief and outrage had emerged a calculated, unstoppable force, ready to reclaim justice across the galaxy. Humanity's ultimate retaliation was unstoppable. The woman general coordinated a campaign that combined every lesson learned from the Empire's attacks with every innovation, every sacrifice, and every ounce of human determination. Fleets moved with precision, targeting command hubs, strategic planets, and supply chains. Alien leaders who had assumed supremacy were blindsided by the speed, coordination, and ferocity of the human response. The species they had underestimated had evolved into a force capable of overwhelming any challenge. Advanced human weaponry struck with surgical accuracy. Adaptive energy disruptors disabled key warships, artillery barrages, obliterated alien fortifications, and fleets executed flanking maneuvers that left the Empire exposed at every turn. The human offensive was not chaotic. It was a symphony of strategy, technology, and sheer courage. Every ship, every squadron, and every operative acted in concert, each move calculated to maximize impact and minimize losses. Humanity had transformed vengeance into a precise, efficient, and devastating war machine. The psychological effect on the Empire was immediate. Alien morale plummeted as human attacks dismantled key command structures and critical infrastructure. Fleets panicked under coordinated assaults, ground forces faltered when cut off from support, and internal dissent grew as failures mounted. The Empire had relied on fear and intimidation to maintain control, but humanity's precision, ingenuity, and unwavering resolve had turned those tactics against them. Every strike reinforced a single message: humans would not be cowed, and every act of aggression would be met with decisive retribution. Individual acts of heroism elevated the campaign to legendary status. Pilots executed impossible maneuvers to protect Allied ships while striking at the Empire's most valuable targets. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair critical systems mid-battle, ensuring fleets remained operational even under extreme conditions. Operatives on the ground sabotaged enemy bases, disrupted communications, and eliminated key leadership figures. Each contribution, though small in isolation, compounded into a force so formidable that the Empire struggled to comprehend its scale or intent. Her strategy combined offense and defense, adaptation and foresight, ensuring that every engagement served a broader purpose. The woman general led with clarity and authority. Humans did not fight randomly. Every attack was designed to dismantle the Empire systematically. Supply chains were destroyed, fleets were isolated, and leadership was targeted with surgical precision. Humanity had turned grief into strategy, outrage into operational brilliance, and survival into dominance. The Empire, which had assumed humans would bend or falter, found itself systematically dismantled. Civilians continued to play a pivotal role in the offensive. Intelligence networks, logistics operations, and resource mobilization ensured that the human campaign remained fluid and relentless. Scientists developed new weapons mid-conflict, medics ensured that casualties could return to the fight, and engineers maintained operational readiness under the most extreme conditions. Every individual, regardless of rank or role, contributed to the overwhelming effectiveness of humanity's retaliation. The species had evolved from passive victims to a united, unstoppable force. As the human campaign progressed, the Empire's strongest fleets were annihilated or incapacitated. Key colonies were reclaimed, vital infrastructure destroyed, and alien leaders forced into hiding. The galaxy watched as humans, provoked into action, demonstrated a combination of strategy, courage, and adaptability that no one could match. The attack on a hospital, intended to terrorize and humiliate, had instead catalyzed the rise of an unstoppable human force. Humanity had proven that resilience, intelligence, and unity were as deadly as any weapon. The final blows were both tactical and symbolic. The woman general orchestrated coordinated strikes against the Empire's leadership and central command structures, crippling their ability to wage war. Alien morale collapsed as humans systematically dismantled their forces, leaving survivors to confront the consequences of underestimating the species they had attacked. Every planet reclaimed, every ship destroyed, and every victory achieved sent a clear message. Humanity would defend its own, and no act of cruelty would go unanswered. Victory was not only a matter of strategy, but of legacy. Humanity had transformed the memory of the hospital attack into a testament to resilience, ingenuity, and courage. Survivors honored the fallen, celebrated the living, and ensured that the story of human determination spread across the galaxy. The Empire had provoked a species that refused to submit, a species capable of transcending fear and grief to become a force that reshaped the balance of power. Humans had not just survived, they had triumphed in a manner that would be remembered for generations. The woman general's final message resonated across the galaxy. They believed attacking the innocent would weaken us. They were wrong. Humanity strikes back not out of hatred, but out of justice, courage, and survival. Every act of cruelty strengthens our resolve. Every attempt to intimidate is met with our ingenuity. Today, humanity stands united, unbroken, and unstoppable. Let this be a warning. The species you sought to destroy has become your reckoning. By the conclusion of the campaign, humanity had not only avenged the atrocities committed by the Empire, but had redefined what it meant to be powerful in the galaxy. They had demonstrated that intelligence, unity, and courage could overcome even the most overwhelming opposition. The attack on a hospital had shattered centuries of peace, but it had also awakened a force of unparalleled determination. Humanity had risen, fought, and triumphed, leaving a galaxy forever aware of their strength and unwillingness to bow. The Empire would remember this for all time. Their arrogance, cruelty, and underestimation of humanity had led to their undoing. The hospital attack, meant to instill fear, had ignited a war that showcased the brilliance, courage, and unstoppable spirit of Earth's defenders. Humanity had not just responded, they had transformed tragedy into triumph, grief into strategy, and outrage into an unrelenting force capable of shaping the destiny of the stars. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a legend, a species that, when provoked, could not be denied, defeated, or forgotten.